Hey guys, we're the Power On Gamers, and we're here today to do a comparison on the PSP 2000 and the PS Vita. First things first, as you can see, there's a huge difference as far as screen display. The PlayStation Vita has a 5-inch OLED display, which is great for handheld gaming. On the other hand, though, the PSP is a lot smaller as far as size on the screen, and also the screen is considered an LCD screen, which is a lot lower of a quality than an LED screen is. Also, the buttons, there's a huge difference as far as buttons. As you can see on the Vita, the buttons are a lot closer together and are a tiny bit smaller. Also, the PSP, the buttons are a lot more spread out because there's a lot more room on the PSP to do as far as button layout, and the buttons are a lot more bigger. Also, on the D-pad, the buttons on the D-pad on the PS Vita, they're all connected together, so you get kind of like a tilts kind of movement in the Vita, while on the PSP, all the D-pad buttons are separated, so you can't really do as much though. And probably the biggest difference between the two systems is that the PS Vita has two analog sticks that stick out on the system. A lot of people think they're like the same thing as the DualShock controllers for the other PlayStation consoles, but these analog sticks actually don't push down. They always on the consoles they call them L3 and R3 when you press down the analog sticks, but on the PS Vita you can't do that. The PSP just has a little left pad that acts as like an analog, but it doesn't stick out of the console, and it's very limited to its movements. The menus on the system, they're not really much. They're kind of different. The PSP is kind of set up like the PS3 menu is, while the Vita with its touchscreen has the feeling of like an iPhone or any kind of smartphone because of the apps on it. But yeah, and then also as far as the drives for the games, the Vita has more like a cartridge kind of, similar to like what the DS has. They have very small cartridges that you fit on the top of the system, while the PSV has, the PSP has what's called UMD, which is short for Universal Media Disc, which is stuck into the back of the console, which was cool at first because it could have a lot of fast processing, but at the same time the disc can be scratched up and so on. As far as the buttons on the bottom, the PSP has a lot more buttons on the bottom. Some of the buttons are similar, some of them are different. The select and start buttons are both on the lower right-hand side, but the PS Vita ones are a lot smaller and they're a lot harder to push as far as the PSP. Also, the PSP has a home button, which now with the PS Vita is considered the PS button. Because back then they didn't have the PS button, but they didn't have that until they came out with the PS3. Also, you can see there on the bottom of the PSP, there are the volume buttons. You can't see them on the Vita, but the volume buttons are actually on the top part of the Vita, where where you put the cartridge in. As you can see, they're being pointed out to you right there. And then last but not least, the shoulder pads on the front. If you could flip that over again. The on the other side, yeah. The buttons here, they're a lot more bigger, and they're a lot more like smoother compared to the PSP. While if you look at the PSP, they're kind of like rigid and a little bit smaller and bumpy because the PSP itself is just generally smaller. Anything else you want to add, guys? And that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check out all of our other videos, and there'll be a lot more other videos to come as well. Thanks.